many of you all may remember Dr. Carroll, I'm sorry, calling him doctor, but it is Dr. Carroll Hynson. You all may remember Mr. C from WOL. And I want to bring him on right now as we talk about Black History Month. But, I don't want to make it sound like he's, a personality of the past, because you're doing so much currently. But I do want to talk about the past, Mr. C. Thank you so much. You're, again, your career started during the Civil Rights Movement in 64. And 65, so I don't want to go through all this. I just want to talk to you and talk about just your career in Washington, D.C. and let's start with how you got started in radio. Welcome to WIN-TV. Me?
Him.
Oh, yeah, we need you to unmute yourself.
Unmute. How's that?
There you go. Good.
There
okay.
you go.
All
Thank
right.
you so much. And you would think that, first of all, I am a native Washingtonian. Although I live in Annapolis, I had to correct something. And when we started, we talked about, and congratulations, you ladies should be very, very proud with our Supreme Court nomination.
Thank you.
I know that's going to be good. I've got good feelings about that. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Sure.
But I just want to say that I was born in Freedman's Hospital, which is right where the radio station is located now, because my mother could not have me here in Annapolis because the hospitals here in Annapolis would not, accept Black and African-American ladies to have babies here. So my father had to take my mother to Freedman's Hospital, where I stayed for 3 days and was born in Washington. So my birth certificate says Washington, D.C.
And we claim you anyway.
I love being claimed.
We all grew up on Mr. C. So, I think back to my early days when, I first sort of discovered R&B and radio and that sort of thing, and WOL. And there you were. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Talk about getting started. I started at WANN here in Annapolis, and a guy by the name of Hoppy Adams, who was Mr. Everything. He was the only Black jock that kind of covered the DMV, even though we had WOK and what have you. But Hoppy told me, says, well, first of all, Carroll, you don't have a great voice. You'll never be as good as I am. And that made me more determined. Made me more determined. I was determined I was going to be a good DJ. And then one day, after, being a support mechanism for Hoppy, I ended up at WOL. And what I did, I got there by giving up a fake interview tape. A guy by the name of Chuck Leonard made a fake tape for me. And the program director at WOL said, this is a fake tape. And I know that you have a horrible voice, but we need someone so bad that we're going to hire you. Do me a favor, do not talk a lot. He said, just do the station breaks and play music and support these guys. So I was the first original part-time with Nighthawk, Jim Kelsey, Jolly Jerry B, Fred Corey, and all those guys.
And that's when OL was over on Wisconsin Avenue, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
that's
a lot of people don't remember that. Yeah.
It was owned by Sonderling Broadcasting, which of course was a white conglomerate. They owned WWRL in New York, and they started at WOL, which was a station here in Washington. No one thought that WOL was going to be number one. Within 4 weeks, the station became number one in the city. It was phenomenal. And during those days, we, even me as a part-time jock, we could not go out and make public appearances. It required police escorts and what have you. So talk about rock star, like the doctor just, we were rock stars back in the day.
Yes, you were.
Well respected. And of course, as you mentioned, we were there during the civil rights era. When James Brown came to town during the riots and so forth, we were out in the streets.
Yeah.
But, and with James, and it was quite an experience.
What was the relationship or the competition with you all? But like you mentioned a few minutes ago, WOOK, WOOK Radio, which also was Black programming as well. Yeah. How did you all, compete, collaborate? Was there any of that went on at the time?
No, there was no collaboration. I mean, we were so strong. That WOL came in with such an impact that we just completely demolished everyone. WST, WOK, we just smashed them. And and from an economic standpoint, we also everybody wanted to buy in quotes radio time on our station because they knew that we reached the general population. And so that became very, very important. So I guess maybe our ratings were so phenomenal that people had to buy us if they wanted people to know that they existed.
So, you know, radio's changed so much. You
Oh
know, when I
yes.
think about you all, really, not to take anything away from, radio announcers, because first of all, they got away from the name disc jockey. You all, they eliminated that.
Announcers, yes.
And now you're announcers.
Yes.
And also, you all, I just think you had to work because you had to really spin records, right?
That's right. That's right. Now everything is computerized. Even if we make mistakes on the air, there's ways to correct interviews. I mean, everything is pretty much clean. And one of the older people in radio told me once, he said, "Mr. Hynson, do me a favor. Remember this. Say 50% of everything you think you should say, cut that in half and think about the other half. And then you will be effective." People do not listen to radio for voices or people. They listen to radio for music.
Right.
That's why some of the popular streaming and the channels that are out now are getting even more popular. Even when you buy a car now, you get a free music channel in a lot of cases. So radio is changing. Black radio is changing. We're up against some great odds now, but at WHUR we're working hard to overcome those odds, and I think we're doing quite well in the market.
The big deal, and I know this because when I was in law school, I went over to work for the Federal Communications Commission for a minute, and they had me focusing on payola. And I guess can you explain what that was, and how did you all manage that at WOL? Was that ever an issue for you all?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I guess it existed. I mean, the James Brown, actually, I mean, if you watch the James Brown movie, it talks about James Brown would come to town and as they say, tighten up all the DJs just to talk about, to mention the fact, well, James Brown is coming to town and here's a record by James, and play it, because the jocks, white or black, just didn't have an opportunity to make any money on the side. Disc jockeys, announcers, whatever you want to call us back in the day, did not make a lot of money. The big money guys are like Humble Harv and all the guys up in Cousin Brucey up in New York, Chuck Leonard, who was the first African-American disc jockey. And there's some history for you that went to WABC in New York. And on the weekend, he made $100,000 a year. And you're talking about back in the 60s.
Wow.
That's a lot of money.
It is.
That's like $500,000, now. And so Chuck Leonard, in fact, he was the one that made my hype tape, the fake tape that
right.
So it's been great, and I'm celebrating well over 50 years in radio now. I feel good. And talk about Southeast Ward 8. Let me tell you, that is my favorite place in Washington. I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but I would say out of all the phone calls I get, maybe 25% of them come from Southeast Ward 8.
Really? And that's now with you at WHUR.
Yes, at WHUR. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
With the Time Tunnel, that's the name of our show. And of course, we feature old school 70s, 80s, and 90s. People seem to want to hear that stuff now. Even young people can identify with the oldies, as they call them. But and I think with the virus coming back, a lot of people said, I'm going to start listening to the old stuff. My favorite songs that maybe some of the kids are saying, well, my mother and father used to listen to radio, and I heard this song that Mr. C plays now. And we've had people that call, and young people call me and say, well, I don't like old school, but I listen to your station because my parents listen. And I remember they used to sing some of these songs. I remember when I was a kid and I heard these songs, I used to see them dance together. And I think
go ahead.
You go. The emotion of old school, of the old records. Now I have nothing against hip hop or anything of that sort, but the emotion and the closeness and the warmth of old school is a lot different from what we're hearing today.
And the lyrics, you can sing to those songs.
That's right.
You can
That's
sing
right.
them.
Yeah, you can get, the lyrics stick with you. They become a part of your life.
They do.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
have one of our viewers is just saying how he grew up. Mike Lassiter saying how he grew up on WOL and you know, really, he says you're still cranking and you're his man, and he loves listening. Kelly
Oh my God.
Armstead is saying she loves listening to your show on Saturdays. You're on from what time on Saturdays?
From 9 until
WHR?
12. You know, we've been moved all over the place, but you know, no matter how you get it, our job, of course, is to kick off the weekends at WHUR 96.3. And the main reason is having that energy early in the morning when people are just getting up and going out and doing their chores, etc. It makes it a lot easier to hear something that you're familiar with. So our show is the kickoff show for the weekend, right on through to our gospel in the afternoon on Sunday, and so forth into the quiet storm on Sunday afternoon and evening.
Mr. C, you talk about energy. You've been doing this for 50 years and you still you still look like the ever ready bunny. You know, it's like you still have the energy. What has kept you in radio, and what keeps you going? What inspires you to go out and play that music every Saturday?
God does it. You know, my doctor said that I have more energy than any person my age that he's ever seen. And he said, as long as you work and as long as you keep your energy up, you're going to always be young in spirit and young in mind. I have an intern here at my office that's 19 years old. His name is Alan. And I've learned so much from him. You know, I never stop learning. And I think each of my listeners, when they call, I listen to everything they say because I learn from people. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are. I learn from you because they have something I don't know anything about them, but I learn from them each and every time.
But I want folks to also know you're in Annapolis, you do radio, but you're also with the, what is it? Maryland, is the Maryland Historical Organization. I want you to talk a little bit about that, you know, because we, you know, we talked before and we talked about how we brought a group of folks to Annapolis, you know, for one of our African-American heritage tours. You knew all the stops that we went to, and that's because you're with the museum there. And talk about what you're doing in Annapolis.
Well, I'm the only African-American member of Historic Annapolis, which is an organization that basically supports all of the older buildings in Annapolis, our museum features. Previously, I also was involved with the Banneker Douglas Museum. I was chairman of the Maryland Commission on African-American History and Culture, which is the oversight commission for all of the museums, Black museums, focuses in the DMV. And we certainly, Annapolis has a lot of history.
Yes.
Of course, with the Kunta Kinte situation. And we have some great festivals here. We kicked off our Juneteenth festival last year for the first time. It was a total success.
Wow.
We have I'm sorry.
In the midst of COVID, you all still had the festival.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Right.
This past year, it was fantastic. And we also had the Kunta Kinte Festival, which also has been a hit every year. And,
I've had a chance
people
to go
from
to
all
that.
over come down to it. And you know, if you come to Annapolis, you can look on the side of my building. There's a mural of John Lewis. And I painted the side of my building, which is one of the on the main street coming into Annapolis. You can see John Lewis's image on that building, and I'm so proud to have that there. Annapolis is a very strange town, even though it is the capital of Maryland. But it's a good town to come to learn a little bit about us, and a lot of folks don't realize that.
Well, we had a tremendous tour there, and we learned a whole lot about Annapolis, and it was really, I wish we had known that we were coming as your guest, but we'll
that
be
would have
back.
been great.
But we'll be back. So what do you have in store for tomorrow morning for the show?
Well, oddly enough, what I do, we have programmed a certain amount of songs. And then once we start, our phone lights up. We have like 6-7 lines, and people start calling us Ward 8. We have a young lady by the name of April from Ward 8 that calls us every week and tells us what she's cooking for breakfast. Then she'll tell me, she said, well, Mr. C, I want you to play a certain song. And she'll say, now you're going to play that song. Don't make me come down to the radio station and beat you up. And you know, and I have a very close relationship with my listeners. You know, I always talk with people, and I enjoy talking with people. And you know, and I remember, you know, when I think of songs that really remind me of what's going on now, there's a song called "Always and Forever"
Yes,
by
I
Heat
remember
Wave.
it.
Always forever, each moment with you is just like a dream come true, etc. And it goes on and on. And you think about these songs, and then you talk about your life. Life is a three ring circus. Like a merry-go-round, it goes round and round. And
Round
we
and
think
round.
about what we're going through. Life is a three-ring circus. You never know
Yeah,
which way it's
yeah.
going to go. We're approaching a very, very interesting time. We have a Black woman being put on the Supreme Court. We're going to claim that one.
Yes,
We're
we
going to
are.
claim it. It's going to happen. And then we got a war over in
It's
Europe.
starting.
So it's a lot of stuff going on. And what I do know is that the COVID taught us a lesson. It taught us that we're going to be together no matter what, and we have to love one another. And the COVID forced a lot of people to be together, did not want to be together. And
Even
so
in our own families.
that's it. That's it. I don't know how many divorces will happen as a result of COVID. And then again, a lot of kids are coming out too.
That's right. That's right.
So praise God. I just want to thank you for having one of the greatest forms of media that in the Washington market. It's been around forever. And I just you and your family were around back when WOL was starting.
Oh, I
And
know. My dad used to do a commercial
yes, he did.
at WOL. There was a partnership, a trade. That's the first time I understood what trade meant, because I can go back to some of those old issues and see the ads that WOL used to run in the
That's right.
Informer. So
That's
that
right.
was a great relationship. Mr. C, thank you
Yes.
so very much for being with
God
us
bless
today.
you, and
It
keep
is
up the
such
good
an
work,
honor.
Denise.
Yeah, you too. You too.
Thank
I will
you.
be listening tomorrow morning
You got
as
it.
normal, because it's good music to do some house cleaning by as well. So you
That's
can
right.
dance
And
around the room.
exercise. Don't forget the
Exercise.
exercise. We want people to dance. Get the
Right.
exercises I've been getting out because of the COVID.
Yes.
So we're gonna do some dancing.
Okay.
And thank you.
All right.
God bless
Thank
you.
you.
And we always say see ya.
See ya.